What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. I often try to draw on my own life when I'm thinking about what to talk about here. And almost every time before I come on here, I'm not exactly sure if I have anything worth talking about. Maybe that's what all of this is, just a collection of mindless, worthless chatter. And I guess how I live my life in accordance to what I talk about here and what I aim at and what the result of following these things is will ultimately determine if this is worth listening to or not. I mean, it's obvious that you could be listening to anyone. The number one question in your mind is this someone, am I someone worth listening to? While judging that against your limited time and resources and the plethora of other people that you could be listening to who might have the life that you desire more than I do. But that's also part of why I draw upon my own life, because it keeps me far away from trying to be or sound like anyone else. And at the least, I'm still trying to add something unique of my own while I stand on the shoulder of giants. But all the effort I put into this is also a vote to myself in becoming the person that's worth listening to for more and more people. This right here is my seed planted. It's the display of my own faith that I actually believe that this is worthwhile or will become so, or else this is just a very useless exercise. As I live my life then, I'm always trying to find the balance between where my virtues become vices. Always trying to find the fine line between appearances and actuality. And the idea of balance is important to the topic today. I've talked many times on here about the regret minimization framework that I try to live by. Me looking back at my life at 80 or the end of my life and trying to have as little of regrets as possible. This thinking, this core value of mine, has led me down paths I probably wouldn't have found myself in if I clung to ease and comfort. But to minimize the regret, I've done a lot of things I otherwise wouldn't have if I didn't have this core value. I don't have an easy mode switch button because of this reason. The balance is what I think regrets work in tension with, and that's resentments. Whereas regret minimization, in my mind, a lot of the time is about doing something. For example, I wish I did this or started this or believed this. Regrets are usually about the things that we didn't do. Whereas the way I think of it, or at least how I'm framing it here for our discussion, resentments are where to decide not to do something, or when something is done past the point where it should have been done, where you did more of something than you should have. Now, sure, you can have regrets about things you did do, things you feel guilty about that you did, things you want to repent on or have remorse for. The word regret is absolutely also used to describe when you did do something and what you did was misplaced or misguided. Just like you can have resentments for things that never happened, things that you feel envious about or entitled to or feel slighted from. You can find yourself resentful about anything you are bitter about in the past or in anticipation or expectation of the future. But for the purpose of how I'm positioning it here, the way I visualize it in my mind is I might try to do something so I can say to myself that at least I don't have any regrets, that I did it or at least I tried. But if I did do it for the main purpose of minimizing my regrets so much, if I just do it to do it, even if it's the right thing to do, still there is a line that can be crossed where that doing of something that at one point was minimizing my regret can now become something that causes me resentments if continued. Ultimately, the doing of the thing has to make sense and stand on its own. And your relationship to it, the doing, needs to be constantly updated and reviewed. There is a point past which it is no longer filling the bucket of not having any regrets, and it's now filling up the bucket of, if you continue to do this, you will have spent yourself more than this thing is worth. There needs to be a constant cost versus benefit analysis, and not in the crude sense of accounting, but in the pure sense of letting your heart be the judge of what your 80-year-old self will think of these decisions. Because your body will age, but your heart will hold on to a lot of the same things. When he at 80 has no time left, which will he consider? The continuation or the ceasing of this thing as a better use of your limited time? JP says, you're the thing that is, and you are also the thing that becomes. But you should put the thing that becomes in a higher place than the thing that is. Means you also have to allow yourself then to shake off those things about you that you might be pathologically attached to. Habits, and people for that matter. Ways of thinking. You have to allow yourself to shake off those things. And that's more like a burning, he says. That's why the phoenix is the symbol that it's old and deteriorating, and then it bursts into flames, and then it is reborn. And it's like, well, do you want to be reborn? Like, that's not the question. The question is, do you want to burst into flames and burn? And the answer to that is generally no. But the right answer is that you let all the nonsense burn away. The question for me from this is, what am I attached to because of my own incessant story of needing to not regret it, that has actually outlived its utility and is now the thing that any extra energy expended on would only cause me resentments? And I'm not sure I have a clear-cut answer because it's something I am battling with and thinking about the tension of. And the energy from both sides is equally as demanding. The regrettable wants to desperately not be regretted, and the resentable wants its boundaries to be kept away from. And somehow, I need a monitor, something in the middle, a constant update from inside of myself, a connection with that terminal assessment of me, so I can know when I am off balance. At periodic intervals, it would be good to stop and ask yourself, am I leaving anything on the table that I might regret? Is there something I am not doing? And for the things that I am doing, am I doing them to the best of my ability so I have no regrets? Have I done enough here to make sure I don't have any regrets? And once I have positive answers to that, I would also ask myself, what is the trade-off I am making of minimizing this regret? And have I done enough here so I can move on to not having regrets in other departments? Because the cost of that trade-off, the opportunity cost, the thing you are missing out on, am I sure I'm spending my current energy wisely to make sure that those things aren't calling to me? And if they are, am I sure that not heeding that call would not cause me to resent the first thing I'm trying not to regret because of the energy it's taking? And then live accordingly. I love you, family. Stay true always. I'll see you on the next show.